Welcome to Bedtime Wisdom Stories.
Story time. The Acorn Alarm Clock. Juniper set her acorn-shaped alarm clock on the bedside table before bed. She promised herself that tomorrow would not begin in another rush. At first she tossed her school scarf over the chair and yawned. She almost left her shoes in the hall exactly as she had yesterday. Then she remembered the scrambled morning and the tears that came with it. Juniper packed her satchel, polished her shoes, and folded tomorrow's clothes. She placed a banana muffin napkin beside the lunch tin. When she finished, the room looked calm and ready for morning. At sunrise the little acorn alarm chimed softly. Juniper woke without panic and found everything waiting just where it should be. There was time to braid her tail and water the mint plant on the sill. Papa noticed the peaceful breakfast instead of a scramble. Juniper felt proud, not because she moved fast, but because she had prepared. Sunlight reached her window as she left the house right on time. That night she slept happily, knowing good habits make gentle mornings. Moral of the story: good habits at night make peaceful mornings possible. Story time. Elsie and the Two Good Nights. Elsie promised Grandma she would say good night after brushing her teeth. She also promised little Milo 2 pages from his pirate book. After Coco, sleepiness tugged at her eyelids and made her steps slow. Elsie almost called one quick good night from the hallway and skipped the story. Then she saw Milo waiting on his pillow with the pirate book open. She sat beside him and read the first page in a quiet, bedtime voice. Grandma passed the door and smiled as the pirate ship sailed through page 2. After the story, Elsie walked Milo to Grandma's room under the hallway lamp. She tucked Grandma's blanket around her knees and kissed her cheek. Grandma said promises are tiny pillows of trust. Milo repeated the line proudly and made Elsie laugh. The whole house felt cozy because everyone could depend on one another. Elsie lined up her wool slippers neatly at the bed. 2 little good nights had taken a little time and brought a lot of peace. She fell asleep with a steady heart and no forgotten promises. Moral of the story: keeping small promises brings rest to every heart in the house. Story time. The Cloud with One Wet Corner. Lila drew a smiling cloud on the cover of her bedtime notebook. At evening story circle, everyone shared the happiest part of the day. Her friend Noor only traced a wet ring on the table instead of speaking. Lila almost chattered on about her new rain boots and puddle jumps. Then she noticed Noor's sleeve was damp where tears had been wiped away. Lila slid her extra cloud handkerchief quietly across the table. Noor whispered that her little goldfish had died that afternoon. Lila closed her own notebook and listened without filling the silence. She offered to draw a memory cloud with Noor instead of telling her own story. Together they drew the goldfish, blowing tiny bubble hearts. Noor's shoulders loosened as she colored the bright orange fins. Teacher dimmed the lamps and let the room stay soft and gentle. Lila learned that kindness sometimes sounds like less talking. The cloud on her notebook no longer needed a grin to be kind. She slept thinking of the fish and the friend she had sat beside. Moral of the story: noticing another person's quiet sadness is a gentle kind of love. Story time. The glow jar for Grandma. Tessa collected safe little glow beads for Grandma's bedtime jar. Grandma liked a soft night light beside her knitting chair after her eyes grew tired. One glow bead rolled beneath the rug while Tessa worked quickly. She almost left the jar half empty, and hoped Grandma would not mind. But she remembered how Grandma reached for light when the room turned dim. Tessa lifted the rug and found not just one bead, but 3. She wiped the glass clean and added a tiny paper flower label. Then she set the glowing jar beside Grandma's chair before story time. Grandma's smile lit brighter than the soft beads in the jar. Together they read from the old quilt book under the gentle glow. Grandma said thoughtful hands often notice little comforts before anyone asks. Tessa tucked the extra glow beads into a tin for another night. The room looked cared for, peaceful, and loved. Tessa felt warm knowing she had prepared comfort for someone else. She fell asleep to the quiet creak of Grandma's chair and the steady glow nearby. Moral of the story: thoughtfulness turns small tasks into deep love. Story time. The bear who counted worries. Benji lined smooth pebbles across his quilt, one for each worry in his head. There was a pebble for thunder, one for spelling, and one for a missing mitten. In the lamplight, the pebble pile looked much bigger than he felt inside. Benji almost pushed the pebbles under his pillow and pretended to be asleep. But the worries felt heavier when he tried not to look at them. Mama sat beside him and asked him to name one pebble at a time. Benji moved the spelling pebble into tomorrow's practice cup. He set the mitten pebble beside the door to remind himself where to look. The thunder pebble rested in Mama's warm paw while the rain passed outside. Soon only one small pebble remained on the quilt. Benji realized some worries shrink when they are sorted and given a place. He placed the final pebble on the windowsill for the moon to hold. His chest felt looser and his breathing slower. Mama kissed his forehead and turned down the lamp. Benji fell asleep before the moon crossed the sill. Moral of the story: worries grow smaller when they are named and sorted. Story time. Ruby's lost slipper sock. Ruby loved matching her cherry slipper socks before climbing into bed. Tonight, one striped sock had vanished from the laundry basket. She searched under the bed, behind books, and inside every toy drawer. Ruby almost sat down and cried, instead of looking any further. Then she remembered how Dad enjoyed turning lost things into little treasure hunts. She asked him if he had seen the missing sock anywhere. Together they followed a trail of dryer fluff across the hallway floor. The striped sock was hiding inside a basket of folded blankets. Ruby laughed at the silly hiding place and hugged the rescued sock. She helped Dad pair the other socks neatly while they were there. The laundry corner looked tidy and ready for tomorrow. Dad thanked Ruby for asking instead of staying upset all alone. Ruby learned help can make a search feel lighter and shorter. She pulled on both warm socks and wiggled her toes under the quilt. Sleep found her quickly once both feet were cozy. Moral of the story: Asking for help is wise when a problem is too twisty to solve alone. Story time. The Night Garden Gate. Priya watered the moonflowers blooming outside her bedroom window. The pale blossoms only opened at night and smelled sweet as vanilla. When cocoa was ready, Priya hurried inside and forgot the little garden gate. She almost curled into her blanket without checking it again. Then a rustle at the window made her glance back outside. Two curious goats were nosing toward the moonflower patch through the open gate. Priya grabbed a lantern and ran into the cool night in her slippers. She guided the goats back to the lane with a trail of carrot peels. Then she latched the gate firmly and checked every border stone. The moonflowers stayed safe and shining in the garden bed. Papa said little responsibilities are how small hands guard beautiful things. Priya breathed in the sweet scent and felt proud in a quiet way. She left the lantern by the window as a reminder for tomorrow evening. The blossoms glowed softly while the cottage lights dimmed indoors. Priya slept beneath the scent of flowers she had protected. Moral of the story: little responsibilities protect the beautiful things we love. Story time. Omar and the Last Firefly. Omar cupped a single firefly in a glass jar beside his bed. He loved the little green glow shining through the night in his room. The firefly tapped the glass softly with tired wings. Omar almost kept it for one more night because it looked so magical there. Then he noticed how little space the jar gave for flying. Grandpa told him that fireflies belong to the dark garden sky, not the shelf. Omar carried the jar outside in his slippers and nightshirt. He opened the lid carefully beside the jasmine bush. The firefly hovered once, then rose into the warm night air. More tiny lights answered from the hedge and the garden path. Omar smiled, even though his paws suddenly felt empty. Grandpa said some gifts are brightest when they are free. Omar washed the jar and left it open on the step. From bed, he watched the fireflies drift outside his window. He slept comforted by a night fuller than any jar. Moral of the story: letting go kindly can be its own gift.